Okie dokie, so hi everybody, and welcome to our webinar, or I'd say it's not really a webinar, it's like more of like live chat today. So my name is Vladimir, I'm head of product at the Welkin, and today we have really like a great guest, Brent. Hi Brent.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Hey. Or maybe he's more known like an admin hero, so let's see. Okay, guys, so like today we have like a pretty strange webinar, or like really, as I've said, it's more like a live chat. So agenda is pretty flexible. So for the next 30 to 40 minutes, we'll have like really nice live chat with Brent. It's not very well structured, so we have some topics that we'd want to cover, but like we'll see how things will go on. And we'll try to improvise. I believe that Brent will challenge me and challenge the Welkin need, and I'll try to answer him and convince him that we have a great tool that it will help all admins. But let's see. Afterwards, we'll have about like 5 minutes. As we've announced in social media, in our mail outs, that we'll have a small giveaway of 3 Welkin licenses, one for 12 months, one for 6 months, and one for 3 months free. And at the end, we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. I believe we'll spend about 5 to 10 minutes. And like, yeah, we'll do our best to answer all of your questions. I think that's the main part. And also, guys, you can see our
video. Oh, that's
you
okay.
can see
Thank
our
you.
faces here. And if you want, you can, I believe you can somehow hide our faces if you don't like to see them. And let's start. I will give the word to Brent.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm really excited for the conversation today and to be able to present, I think, some great tools for admins. And I know that savvy admins are always looking for a new tool set to streamline things. And if you've read Admin Hero, you've seen several postings of various tools that I found helpful over the years. So I'm excited to add this as a potential item in the toolbox. So I guess to start, Vladimir, why provide a tool set to admins in a traditionally developer conscious software application?
Okay, kind of tricky question, like what for, yeah? So like
what for? Why?
Like we all got used that admins like for last, I'd say 18 years have like got almost no standalone tools. So like admins for a while have got just only setup menu from Salesforce with I don't know how many, like 300, 400 pages with lots of settings, lots of configurations. And like as we've said, like we've had like a pretty nice presentation on Dreamforce this year about like the admin stuff. And like really it's strange because sometimes it's treated as like developers are doing complex stuff while admins are doing something pretty simple. They don't need tools. While it's used, like it's okay, like in all worlds that like .NET developers, Java developers, web developers, they have good tools, they do complex work, and admins, they're just clicking mouse, they don't need the tool. But still at the same time, like how many extensions for Chrome do you know? I think like at least like 20, at least 20 different extensions which are very helpful. I like myself use a couple of them for now. And like it's much harder to live without good tools. And Salesforce is okay, it's good, but still there is some room for improvements always. And doing more and more work about like admin declarative development stuff, we realize is that it's not so easy. It's not easy at all. It's very difficult. It's the same as doing development, but not writing the code, but doing lots of other stuff. And it's even worse because like when you write code in one file, in 10 different files, but you know what to do. In declarative development stuff, it's always a pain for me to find the needed page. It's sometimes a pain to find some tools or like just really to understand what I need to do and how I need to do this in the most efficient way. So by taking this in mind, we've realized that also at the same time, people who are treated as like regular developers who do coding, they at the same time deal with the same S objects, validation rules, workflows, layouts. They break them, or validations and workflows break their code, their unit tests. So anyway, you still need to do lots of declarative development stuff. That's why we decided to bring everything into like, under the same roof. So you won't need to go to Salesforce, even if you need to modify layout or create new field in this object. And like really, like taking this, like all of this stuff into account, It's one of our main priorities. We see lots of rooms for improvement. We are still pretty new to admin stuff. We are pretty new to understanding complexity and pain points of administrators. But as we evolve, we understand that we can spend 5 or 10 more years just doing the stuff for declarative development.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that admins do, obviously, as you mentioned, that isn't necessarily in the Welkin suite, but knowing that there's a roadmap and comparing it to other tools, I think that there's a good tool set here that admins can leverage. And as you said, there's a need for developers too to have some of this as well, because they do kind of cross over from a best practices standpoint in leveraging declarative functionality first before doing code.
Not always.
Should be. That should be. Well, I think one of the things that I've liked looking at in the Welkin suite, and we'll get into a demo here in just a minute, maybe this is the segue, is that, and actually, as a consultant now too, there's a lot of repetitive tasks that an admin and a consultant go through on a regular basis. So I think that the bulk of what we're going to look at today is around kind of field management, field maintenance, and there's also maybe some data standardization that we'll look at as well in terms of editing records. So if you've got questions as we start to get into the demo, please post them in the questions area. We'll get to those towards the end. And we're going to, I think, kind of jump in. So let's talk first maybe about some repetitive tasks, and the first one being the creation of fields. So how can the Welkin suite help in kind of managing that, and maybe the use case being I'm a consultant or I'm an admin and I'm deploying a new object or series of objects, and they've got bulk of fields to create on each of those objects.
Cool question. I started my Salesforce development stuff 4.5 years ago, and almost the first thing I wrote on Apex, when I was learning Apex and Visual Force, was using Financial Force metadata API, and I just wrote a page to create bulk fields, because I've had one of my first projects was to create surveys, and I've had to create 3 objects, each of them is about 200 fields, and I hated it because it took at least 1.5 minutes for each field. And I realized that I spent the whole day, and yeah, great, I'm a great guy, I've created 200 fields. Cool, great job. So this was one of our cases. We really very often see it, we really very often do it. This was our first feature for admins. And just very quick overview, guys. So just for you to introduce what is the Welkin suite. So I'm a Windows guy, completely Windows guy, so I will show you the Windows version. I hope you see it right now. We also have a Mac version, because I know that in Salesforce world, I think at least 60% of people are using Mac. So we have both versions. And it's a standalone application. Yeah, it's not very common for Salesforce admins to use some standalone applications, but still it allows us some flexibility and speed. So you need to create a project. I have already a solution with my 2 projects linked to 2 different organizations. And I have admin panel. We know that our regular approach that we use for regular development, it's not very common for admin guys. And we are trying to be as close as possible, and we are trying to somehow mimic the approach of Salesforce. So instead of setup menu, you have your admin panel where you see all of your subjects, standard, custom ones, they're color-coded. And right here, I can see the list of fields. So for account, for example, I can see a list of my fields. And if I need to create new fields, okay, let's jump in. I right-click on the account, select Open in Editor. I will hide this panel. If I'm a very cool admin or a developer, I can do this in XML. I'm not this guy. I don't know XML very good, so I will just hide it. And in the upper part of the screen, we can see the list of fields that we can edit. For example, I can expand any of them, and I can see some of the details. So it's a currency one, so I can change its length, decimal places to 2, description, make it not required. But okay, let's talk about your use case. Yeah, my webcam is strange. You see my hands a lot. So I can create a new field right from here. I just need to select type of it. It would be number field. I might guess, brands, that you'll notice that like we are not populating API name as you'd expect this to happen in Salesforce. I know we also like not always ideal. We've planned to do this like in the release that we'll roll out today or tomorrow. Not yet done, but it will be done next release, of course, because
It's close.
It's strange, but like yeah, not ideal. There's always some room. So I'll modify some stuff here. I'll make it required, unique, dummy description. If I need another field, I'll just add it. Let it be pick list. And you know, this is the first time when I'm showing the last production version. And it's strange because like in the versions that will again like come out today or tomorrow, we've just added a feature to clone fields. And it's much easier. We are able, like you'll be able to clone fields inside of the object. So just like with checkboxes, tick whatever fields you'd like to copy, select how many times you'd like to copy them, or you'll be able to copy them from one object to another. So like it's not yet included here. I'd like to avoid for the first time crashes or exceptions during the webinar. So let's try. So right here I can enter like pick list values just like in a regular text box. One pick list. Okay, something new here. I can select like some of the settings. So like here we allow doing all the like main stuff for your fields. Again, like descriptions, required, help text. In this manner, I can create as many fields as I want. So let's let it be like 10 more fields. And as you see, like I manage them just like one by one. Okay, one more text field. Like 100. And yeah, I'm done with it. Let's try to save and deploy. It will get to Salesforce. It takes some time, but instead of like doing this after each field, it will do it just once. And
yeah, that's a huge time saver.
But there's like one like pretty important thing here is that like whenever like you're doing this via APIs, via the Welkin suite, or if you use this via Schema Explorer in Salesforce, you remember that like you won't get anything in layouts, in field level security, but it still allows you to create fields very quickly. And yeah, it's Salesforce. It's Salesforce. Yep. Deploy is finished. Up with errors. Where's my error? No errors. All's good.
Oh, it's good. Okay. it wouldn't be a live conversation and demo without an error though. So maybe we'll get one before the end. So we're able to really quickly. So I think this is great because I'm really able to quickly to see my list of fields and one thing with Lightning that if any of us are using Lightning have noticed is that while the field list is easier to manage, it's a little more difficult to open up a field and review properties and make changes quickly. So if I need to make a modification to an existing field or add a couple of fields, or even if I'm building out an object, a net new object, I can really quickly add that field set with far less clicks and then be able to manage what's already in there. So what else looks like, okay, so you're doing some filtering here. So as we say, what else from a field management perspective is here that an admin might typically need to use?
In terms of like regular fields managing, I think it's like, that's it. Like just like create or modify fields. Right now, also, let me just find if I have any formula field. No, okay, but like even for any currency, for the default value. So right now it's just like plain stuff and like nothing happens here. But again, like this release, we've added like formula editor for default values for formula fields. I think if you ask me about validation rules, I'll show how it will look like. But for now, okay, it's pretty plain and it will be a bit nicer in the future. It will be a bit nicer.
Well,
right now, like being honest, I don't see too much other things to do or to add about fields. So if you have any ideas or critiques, I'd be happy to hear it. What else you'd like to see?
It's a good start. I think managing in one spot is extremely helpful versus opening a million tabs to validate field level settings. So one thing that you had mentioned that isn't here, but that I actually do know exists in the Welkin suite is the field level security. So could you show that and how might that be managed in the Welkin suite?
It's really my favorite part. And yeah, guys, I really asked Brian to ask about this because I love this. I love this. I hated to do this in Salesforce, and I love doing this in Welkin suite. Sometimes, again, like it might be not very ideal, but it saves huge amount of time. So as I've said, like we are just added fields without any other settings made to the organization, and we are kind of applying here the conveyor belt idea. So first you add 50 fields, then you add that 50 fields to your layouts, and then you configure FLS for that 50 fields all at once. It's kind of change of approach, but let's see how it looks like. So FLS, right here you might spot another tab. So I have FLS and I have layouts. Once I switch to FLS, it will take, I'd say, about 20 seconds to get the details from Salesforce, because we don't trust any APIs. We retrieve this data like in real time from your organization. But once it's done, I think you'll love it. You'll love what you got.
And while that's loading, maybe just to clarify, so FLS is field level security, meaning that we've created a field, but perhaps certain profiles or certain users should be able to either see it or read only, right, or read write, or maybe they don't have access at all to that specific field. So when we talk FLS, that's what that would refer to.
Cool. Thanks for this clarification. So we've got our data, and let's see what we have. So on the left side, we see all fields from our object, all of them at once. And on top, we see all profiles from my organization. So in Salesforce, it's cool when you can do, like when you need to change something for one field or for one profile. But if you need to do this like for multiple fields, for multiple profiles, then like really you're like in trouble. And I'll show in a second how you can modify all the stuff, but like continuing the idea of the conveyor belt. So I have added 2 fields. You can see them here, and you can see that they are highlighted in red with like some other fields at the same time. So we are trying to like point your attention to the fields that are forbidden or like not accessible for all profiles. This, like from our point of view, it's strange and it's not very common case. This means that like if you just added these fields, or maybe you've missed them or you forgot about them, we even have special button to show unassigned only. And that's especially like for the case that like I've shown. So I've added 50 new fields, then I switch to FLS, filter to unassigned only, and then I work only with that fields. In my case,
so those fields that we mass created in the last step, those 3 fields or so, they didn't have any assignment, right?
Yep,
so no one sees them by default.
Yep. Great. And what I can do here, so I can see settings like we have nice icons, I believe. So this means that this field is visible. This means that this field is read-only for this profile, or forbidden, like not accessible at all. How can I change the settings? Very easily. I can just click through the settings as I want, one by one. I have quick actions, so I can apply the setting for one field for all profiles at the same time. And I will like make them read-only for everybody. Why not? And I can do the same quick actions for profiles. So I can make this like chapter-only user won't see any field on account. Okay. Also, as you can see, we are highlighting you when you've changed something. So like slightly yellow background. We are also highlighting you here a small tick showing you that something was changed. But it's not my favorite part. My favorite part is doing something crazy or like having sense and doing some complex configuration for a field, or for example, like I will do it on this example. So one of the new fields, I'll set all the settings, I'm happy with them. And now I need to apply the same settings for other fields I've created. Instead of doing this like monkey work like for 10 minutes and wasting my time, I'd right click here on the field, select bulk apply, and with just checkboxes, apply the same settings to other fields. And then I can grab a cup of coffee and have a rest. So you can see my changes were applied. And in the same way, absolutely the same way, I can right click, for example, on chapter only profile, select all. Okay, all my profiles are now like no access to any fields. Another cool thing here, it's not usable like all of the time. It might be handy in some of the cases. For example, like we have this, like everything is forbidden for everybody. And I might want to, let's say, make couple fields available for partner profiles only. So instead of looking through this like 30 or 50 profiles, I don't care about them. I'll go to filter options. I will hide everything and I will look for partners. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 5 partner profiles. So I select all of them and then I can do quick actions or do whatever I need for these profiles. The cool thing is that our quick actions, they take into account whatever you see. So if I'll switch back to filtering options and select everything back, you see that my changes were applied only to these 5 profiles, while everybody else like left the same. The same applies for filtering for field names and like, yeah, we even have like some geeky way you can work with mouse, with keyboard and with your cursor and go through cells and change them. Kind of Easter egg.
That's great for those that love keyboard shortcuts. Me being one of them. That's a huge time saver. So as you filter down, it's whatever displays on the screen is what you have the ability to edit, and the edited changes apply just to either those fields or profiles or combination of them that display. Very Excel-like in that regard. And the bulk apply, I think is one of those things that we constantly as admins are potentially, and as a consultant now too, you deploy a change set, it's got fields, and you might forget to do the field level security. And now it's like, and I've got 30 different profiles I have to go into to manage that, and this makes that much simpler to do it all in one kind of fill swoop. So whether you forget it or you just need to quickly manage it, either across multiple profiles or fields, this makes it extremely easy.
You've mentioned one of the cases for deploying something between like sandbox and production, and I want to show you one thing with it was really one of we make internally we also have a team of about 30 people working here for Salesforce, like developers and admins, and we have one feature that we've made it one night just to save one of our consulting projects because we were very close to deadline after it. And we've had to deploy about 20 different objects with lots of FLS settings. And I'm really pretty stupid guy. I think I'm not able to deploy profiles with Ant migration tool. It's very complex for me. I always have issues with it. And also I'm not very attentive guy, and I also have problems deploying FLS or profiles with change sets. It's kind of complex for me. So we've done a very dirty workaround to do the stuff. Let me just show it in 2 seconds, okay, in a minute. So for example, let's imagine that this is my sandbox and I need to deploy these FLS settings to my production environment. I can do a dirty workaround. I press export here. I save the JSON file. It's our internal temporary format. It's not used by anybody else. You are not able to deploy it with Ant migration tool. It's just for us, just workaround. So I save this JSON file. Then I switch to my Solution Explorer. I open my second project. Let's imagine that it's my production environment. Again, I open the same account object. Really, it's absolutely different organization. It doesn't have much in fields. You see, no much in profiles, almost no much in fields. But what I can do here, I can press import, get back to the JSON file, press open, and you'll see some magic. So we are migrating changes from kind of one org to another org. At the same time, we not fail if there is something doesn't match. So we apply the settings only for matching pairs of fields profiles. And in this way, I've done this set changes, I just press apply, and that's it. So yeah, if I have 30 objects, I will need to do this 30 times. It's a bit annoying, but still.
So just to be clear, so it's an export. You did an export here, and it exported as a JSON to your desktop. Then you imported in the other org, and you're applying the changes from the source org to the target org based on all of the field level security permissions that we just saw. Yeah, that's huge, right? Because
and even in case if something goes wrong, for example, if by accident I don't want to modify standard or system administrator, I can like revert changes for it and fine tune something like in a bit another way, and then I can deploy it.
Got it. So maybe 80% of the permissions you want to keep, you'll import them here and then refine it for that specific org or that object, and then deploy it with a push of a button.
Yep.
That's awesome. And I don't have to know JSON to do that. That's just the format that the tool is using, right? So the export is JSON, but I'm not making any changes to the file specifically. I'm simply exporting the data and importing it into the appropriate location and applying the changes. So as an admin, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. One question that was here, I think maybe we'll just answer since we're kind of on the topic of field level security, was how did you get to the FLS tab from where we were at looking at the fields?
So it depends, like, yeah, in the, where's my admin panel? So in the admin panel, like on the right click, you have all the options. You can open field level security right from here, or you can, like in general, click open in editor or any of these items, and you open your object editor. In the object editor, you really see editor and 3 tabs. So you pretty quickly switch between tabs and see whatever you need. And in the same way, if you're working with a solution explorer where you see all of your files in the files way, just open any object file and you'll get the same as objects editor, where you see the same fields, the same FLS and layouts.
Awesome. So I'm going to mix up our agenda a little bit because there's some good questions that I think are related to this. So if you don't mind, we'll incorporate some Q&A here, and then we can hit some Q&A towards the end. Let's see. Will the auto population of the API field name also be available on the Mac version?
Yes, yes, and right from the beginning, like we are changing our approach, so it will be, we'll try to do everything at the same time in both versions.
And is there any difference between the Windows and Mac version from a feature perspective, or is it pretty much one-on-one?
No, like being honest, it never like will be one-to-one. There is some difference, of course, like for example, like we don't have data loader on Mac version. Like people pretty rarely use it, so we haven't ported it to Mac version. In terms of like major features, in terms of admin features, I think that almost everything is the same except of permission sets editor, but it's not very good, so I don't want to bring bad experience to Mac version. And we might have some delays, we might have some small limitations because anyway, it's different platforms, but in general, in terms of functionality, it's almost one-to-one, but almost.
Okay, no, that's good. At least there's the bulk of the functionality is there for both platforms. Let's see, there's a question of, can we create bulk fields or fields in bulk?
No, not yet, not yet. And being honest, I don't see like a pretty good way how to do this, like creating fields. So I think that like option to clone fields like multiple times might be a good way, because I think like at least like you make some general like fields, you fill some like general information, then clone it 50 times in the same object and just like fine tune whatever you need. So like I treat it from this way. If you get feedback from users that no, we still want to create fields in bulk, then we'll try to think how we can do this in a nice way.
Okay. And yeah, I think, cloning is probably that first step, it sounds like, in that process, and that actually alleviates quite a bit of the bulk field creation. Bulk delete, bulk create. I'm not sure what that one is referring to. Mo, that came in from you. If you want to maybe explain a little bit more on that one, we can tackle that.
In terms of deleting or what's of questions?
That's all that is said. That's all that is said.
Okay.
So we can get.
Tricky question, like I need to answer it. Like regarding deleting, we do not yet support deleting fields in FLS or like in fields editor. So like it's destructive changes. We want to be careful with it, and like we do not support it yet. We don't have it in our roadmap for the next 2-3 months, even. Like I'm absolutely honest here, but I think at some point later we'll add option to delete fields.
Okay. What about dependencies? If I've got field dependencies, maybe pick lists that have a dependency built between them, do I see that today in the welcome
No,
suite?
not yet, not yet. Like we also have some, like we know that we need to work with record types. We know that we need to handle them in a nice way, even like for layouts, for like dependencies, and like in general, and for dependent pick lists. Like we know that we need to do this. We don't know when exactly we will do this stuff, but of course, like the more feedback we get from users, the more like we understand their needs, the like faster we will do it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for the questions that are coming in, if the response is no or not yet, or we're not sure, you know, the one thing that I've learned in working with Vladimir and the Welcome Suite team is they really want feedback. So if this looks interesting to you and, you know, it meets a need, but something comes up or you think it could be done better, let them know, because they are definitely wanting to build it out based on your feedback and not just what they think you want. So, you know, I think that's great. Well, there's several other questions. I want to move on. We can get to the questions towards the end. There's actually some questions related to permission sets, and I do want to get to that. But first, maybe we could take a look, since we're kind of in the conversation of fields, the fields that are assigned to different page layouts, right? Managing those across multiple page layouts. That's always a pain point as an admin. I've got maybe 10 different account pages, one for each region or one per group. I'm not sure if they're on the page or if they're not, and clicking through the page layout editor takes quite a bit of time. They could be at different locations on the page, so trying to, you know, use Control F on the keyboard in the browser. So how does the Welcome Suite help? Yeah, well, yeah, especially in Lightning, right?
Okay, so then like here, let me try to show you. No, I'll start from the editor. So it will be just very quick. The same approach here. Once I switch to the Layouts tab, on the left side you see fields, on top you see layouts, you have the quick actions, you can put fields into different sections. Yes, there is no like drag and drop inside of the section, you can't control the order itself. But again, like from my point of view, if you have 70 fields on an object, it's much easier to rearrange them between 5 sections and then play around with the order. You can just right click here and go to edit layout in the org. You open your Salesforce layout editor and you'll be able to drag and drop them. So everything else, like it's the same approach, the same filters, the same quick actions, bulk applies, the same approach. About your case about finding or understanding if something is shown on the layout. So again, I'll get back to my admin panel. Still, it's like a dashboard. And in the admin panel, I see the layouts item. So once I click on any layout here, I can see all of the fields that are shown on the layout. I see if they're like editable, if they're read-only, if they're required, and see in what sections they are located. And separately, I see a list of fields that are not shown on this layout. So instead of like looking for a field, I don't know, like test field, is it here? Yeah, it's here. I can just take a look here and understand what happens. We also have filters here, like, yeah, filters are not available for Mac version yet, but here I can even do a filter by section and see what I have in address. Okay, just 2 fields. So in this way, I can pretty quickly go through different layouts. It's much faster than loading pages in Salesforce. And in this way, I can understand like if I've missed something. And then again, right click, open layouts in Inspector, and then fix any issues or make any changes that I want to.
That's great. So very similar to the fields, right? We've got the field and profile, field level security editor. We've got something similar here as well. And so I can see the layouts at the top, the fields on the left, like you mentioned, and then whether or not they are on the page. We also can tell which section they're in, right? So if we look at the description box, the description field, for example, we can see it's in the description information section, or yeah, the account information section for that dummy field there. So while I can't make changes today to its position, I know exactly where it is and whether or not it's visible on that layout.
And by the way, like, sorry for interrupting you, Brent, I see a tricky question from Tomasz about why there is possibility to override standard Salesforce limitations in layouts like created by ID. Good tricky questions. Like Salesforce has so much limitations, so much rules, and so much logic that is not highlighted anywhere. Like really, guys, like we don't want to guess, we don't want to confuse you in any way, we don't want to forbid you doing some stuff, because at some point it might get that like your organization pay to Salesforce like another $10K, and they allow you to do whatever you want with created by ID. So in our case, like, yeah, we do not try to like enforce all of the rules because it's almost not possible to get up to speed with Salesforce. Like, you'll be able to do here whatever you want, but like once you save and deploy, we'll retrieve changes from Salesforce, and still everything will be reverted back to their original states. So like, yeah, 50-50, it's from some points like it's good, from some points it's bad.
Yeah, I think, you know, the nice thing with this is that while it doesn't necessarily provide everything that you would need to manage the page layout, it makes the task of discovery a lot faster, right? And now I know, you know, perhaps I don't need to rearrange the page at all, but I need to make an edit to that page layout, or you know, I could even move it into a different section, and I need to do that across page layouts, right? And instead of going into the layout editor, I now can do that very quick action. I still might need to go into Salesforce to make some additional updates. I think that you said by moving it to a different section, it puts it in that kind of most left-hand column of the page layout, and I still need to make some tweaks. But the bulk of this is helpful from a discovery perspective, and now I know where to focus in as an admin. I know that this would have been quite helpful on both projects and previous companies I worked for as an admin. Trying to manage those was quite a lot of work.
That's good feedback. That's good feedback. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, some of the questions that are in here are great. The capability I don't think is in there right now. Someone said, Jimmy says, I need to perform an impact analysis based on the removal of fields. Is there a tool that can help me to measure the relative impact of removing a field, such as dependencies, utilization, etc.? The one thing I would say here that the Welkin suite I think does do, and I have used it for this, is understanding where's the field being used. So maybe not the percentage of records populated, but I need to know if I delete this field, which reports are going to be impacted, which workflows and process builders, validation rules. And you can perform a search query against a field and find out where it's being used. And from that, then you can either quickly determine that it's not a necessity in terms of a field, or there might be some additional work that needs to be done to make sure that that field's impact doesn't have a negative impact once it's been removed. But something like you know, utilization, that's an interesting one, and perhaps that's referring to actual field utilization, percentage of population. That would be an interesting metric. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Is there a way to find out how a field is being populated without fishing through targets, processes, flows, and field updates? This is coming from Vincent, and I don't.
Also interesting thing, like, really. But like, being honest, it will be pretty complex to do it. It will be really complex to do it. But nice idea.
Well, you know, the interesting thing with this one, again, is that a field could potentially be updated or populated through multiple channels, right? So it could be a combination of a process or a workflow rule, depending on the scenario built out. It could be user input. So defining, again, kind of the how it's being populated, I could see as being complex. But again, I think in my own experience, the most beneficial piece is where is it being used. And I think that data is definitely much harder to come across without something like an IDE. And of course, now we're talking general IDE, because I think the Force.com IDE does this as well. But it still is a definite question that a lot of admins ask. Let's see. Zach says coupling Welkin with a tool like Field Trip would be nice for the utilization request. Yep, and definitely you could use them today together, I would suppose, but not necessarily see the data generated from Field Trip in the Welkin suite. But having both tools together is definitely helpful. Well, what about you know, let's talk about validation rules a little bit, and or would it make more sense to go into permission sets? Maybe let's talk permission sets first.
Yeah. So
several questions there.
let's try to quickly cover permission sets. Again, guys, like, it's maybe a problem for the Welkin suite itself. I'm not a sales guy. Unfortunately, I'm more of a tech guy, and I'm very honest here. I hope that nobody of our sales team hears me. So, like, what we have about permission sets? One of the things that we have for permission sets, let me select my main project. So in the tools menu, we have permission sets assignment. So once I click it, it will again take some time. And you'll see a pretty familiar interface for you. On the left side, you see your users. On top, you see your bunch of permission sets. And as you might guess, guys, you have quick actions, you have filtering options. You can assign your permission sets to different users as you wish in just a couple of clicks. Applying will take some time. It's Salesforce, like, I don't know, due to some reasons, it makes it pretty slow. But still, like, you can like assign permission sets to different users. Like, yeah, I know that like all of you have at least like a couple of Chrome extensions which do this. But like, again, like if you're in the IDE, why switch into the browser if you can do the same stuff from here? Regarding editing permission sets, and yeah, I've seen a couple of questions about like comparing like FLS between orgs. Not yet, we know it's cool at some point later. Permission sets, we have some kind of permission sets editor. I won't say that it's great. I won't say that it's even very good. It's somewhere close to Salesforce's level. It's work in progress. So like once I open any permission set, I can see like some object settings. Like I can see all the categories. I can do some editing. I can see the stuff here. Yeah, it takes time. This is why I'm not very big fan of our permission sets editor. For example, I'll change to another one and I'll show the things that I like here. So if I go to system permissions, there is one thing that I hated doing in Salesforce. It's understanding dependencies. I'm not, again, like I don't do this every day. I do this once in a couple months, I think. And sometimes it's hard for me to understand what dependencies are between different permission sets, like between different permissions. And instead of like hovering through like small like balloon in Salesforce, we have two buttons for you. Depends on, required by. I can just click this button. It will take a couple of seconds, up to 10, I'd say, and will show you the full list of permissions which are linked with this one beneath it. And even you can go a couple levels deeper to see like what are like all of the dependencies for this permission. You still like can do like quick actions here. You can like check them. You can modify them here. A bit later, like we were thinking about adding options to compare different permission sets. So you might see here a room, so like permission set 1, permission set 2, permission set 3, and do quick actions. Not for now, we have big plans to update it. We have plans to update it somewhere in summer, not now. And like, yeah, it's here, it's not great. Like we know that it's not in our way, let's say. But we know about this and we will work on it.
Well, there's some things there, and I think for permission sets, even if it's a limited functionality set, they tend to be a little tricky to manage. So anything is better than nothing from an admin perspective. But again, it sounds like you've got some plans there to make those updates, which is great.
Yeah. So for those, sorry, Brent. Yeah, permission sets editor. Like question from George. It's not available for Mac. Like as I said, it's not ideal. I don't want to for us to migrate, not ideal solution from one platform to another. Once we'll migrate it, we'll make it much better. So we'll leave it for summer, I believe. So we'll migrate it already in the good state.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is there a way to compare permission sets to look for overlapping permissions across perm sets? I think you said not today, but that is something that you're contemplating. So that's great. Thanks, Raj. When will you support Git on Mac?
We have a long conversation here, but yeah, like we have a long conversation with George, so like we can keep this offline.
Okay, we'll take it offline then. Let's see. Is permission set allowed to modify? Are you allowed to modify a permission set within the UI?
Like yeah, like right here, as I said, sort of like I can do this not in the best way still, but I can do this and then apply.
Okay, so that capability is there. Great. Okay, that's good. Well, we're at, we've got 15 minutes left. I do want to make sure that we kind of talk about validation rules because I think that this is a really neat piece. And then I know that we've got a drawing for a couple of free Welkin Suite licenses. So I want to make sure that we get to that as well. If we don't get to your questions, before the end of the call, we'll definitely address each one of them and make sure that they're answered. And I think we'll have a little bit of time at the end. We can kind of run through and maybe quick hit what we can.
Yeah, like we'll try to. Okay, validation rules. So again, I'll get back to admin panel. I'll just quickly show workflow rules. Like we have workflow rules here. It might look better, it will look better. And validation rules are here. And what's cool about validation rules? So like you can create them right from the admin panel, like rule name, description, message, formula. You can modify any existing rule. So let me just delete the error condition. And again, like I'm not an XML guy. I hate writing XML. I hate modifying XML files. I don't want to remember all of them. But still, it's strange for me when in Salesforce, I need to do at least 4 clicks to insert a field into the validation rule. I really don't remember all of the API names, and I don't want to do this. So I believe that even like those of you guys who don't do any coding, who don't want to do any coding, you'll like the way how we provide you an option to, like, let's say, like modify validation rules. So we have code completion for it, and you'll love it. So our code completion knows about all of the functions which are available for validation rules. It knows about all of the fields that are available on the object. So I don't need to remember anything. I'm just look for active something. Yep, it's here. And I don't know. And sorry, not. Let it be or. And here let it be not. Something, I don't know, again is changed. And let's look, like also this code completion knows not only about the fields on the object itself, so really I don't need to remember about all of them, but it also knows about such like org-wide properties like user, organization, profile. So let's check if the current user, it takes a couple of seconds. And here we are, active, no. Is active, yes. And that's it. So I don't need to know how these fields are called on like in the user or how they're called on my account. I don't need to remember all of the functions. I can get them right here. Bang, and I have a new validation rule. That's it.
Awesome. And it's deployed?
Sorry? No, not yet. I'll need to go to object. So like we are doing modifications directly in the object file. So if I go to the XML, I will see it somewhere here. Where is it? Okay, I will see it somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. And then I just need to save and deploy it. So yeah, it might like admin panel is more like a dashboard, but still we allow you to do validation rules from there, and then you need to go to the editor to deploy them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the ability to be able to query those fields. Sometimes API names are different than the field labels, which is a huge annoyance, but that helps a bit. And being able to make, I think, the nice thing with this is that you can make multiple changes to an object and then deploy those all at once, right? Or am I speaking out of turn?
And even you can modify like lots of objects at the same time, and then just go to Solution Explorer, right-click, deploy objects. So like because like the bottleneck is Salesforce API, it will take at least like 10 to infinite seconds to deploy it. So like doing changes in multiple objects and deploying all the same is faster.
Sure. Okay. Object by object, or you could do the individual settings as well. So if I did, field layout or page layout or the field level security edits, those specific items could be deployed from that location as well, and those modifications would apply. Well, that's great. I mean, I think, again, you and I have talked, Vladimir, quite a bit, and seeing this again for probably the 5th or 6th time, I'm still, impressed with what's in here. And I think with what's in here, knowing that there's a roadmap that you guys are thinking of some items that are coming up, it's really exciting to see what might come on the roadmap. There was a question: is there a roadmap for admin-related improvements for the Welkin Suite? Obviously the answer is yes. I don't know that you have
Yes.
anything published per se, but
Not yet, like, like we are not publishing our roadmaps very often because we change them very often, like we're changing them every couple, like sprints at least. Right now in our roadmap, we have lots of stuff for formulas. So like, as I said, like we'll make proper editors for formulas right here in the field editor. We'll reorganize the field editor in another way, like it's done in the Mac version. We'll think about like bulk options, like more bulk options for fields. We'll for sure work on workflows and validations. Like we are thinking right now about an option to debug validation rules and workflows. So if you suddenly reach a workflow or validation rules that is like, I don't know, 10,000 symbols long, and somehow it fails, and you have no idea why and at what point, we'll help you doing this. We'll help you understanding why it failed, on what steps, so you'll be able to go step by step, see each function, see each variable, see each field value, and understand why it failed or passed. Sorry. The same for workflows. We also have like our dream for last almost 3 years, even like before we started like declarative development stuff. We want to make a security troubleshooter or helper, and it will be like at least a year-long project for us, but we'll start doing it like with small steps. For example, like if you again like get into a situation where a customer writes you, hey bro, why I don't see this record, or why like somebody like X sees record Y, you'll be able to make a couple clicks and you'll go through the organization-wide defaults, through the field level security, permission sets, territory management, like sharing rules, like check all of the settings that might somehow affect any like permissions, visibility of records, or like, I don't know, anything related to access. So we'll start with small like items. We'll add more and more scenarios and use cases later. And this is our kind of roadmap for till the end of May. Afterwards, we still have lots of ideas. We just need to try to somehow prioritize them.
that's always the hard part, right?
Yeah.
Lots of ideas, but which one to do? Maybe there was a request here. Is it possible to search within workflows, flows, process builders to see where a particular field is getting updated? Maybe we could show. I think we've got a minute here to do this. How would I find where a field is being used? I don't know if you've got a good example you could show.
Yeah, I like it's not ideal. It's another thing, by the way. I forgot to mention. We have it in our roadmap before May. So right now, as you mentioned, like even like force.com ID can do the same stuff. So like yeah, we have everything local. We have everything completed like locally. And let me just like yeah, it's a hardcore way. It's not like an admin way. It's not very user friendly way. But still, I select the field, search, and yes, I search entire solution for the field. I can fine tune, I can look at the different file types. Let's say, let's look at workflow. Is there anything there? Yes, I have a workflow that does something and I can see the workflow. So it's not the ideal way, it will show me. So if I'll return back to search, if I want to filter any types, I can find everywhere where it's used. Anyway, like it helps right now, but in our roadmap right now, we have an option to make a report of looking for field usage. So it will for sure go through layouts, workflows, it will go through validation rules, report types, email templates, because I really see very often how like my Salesforce team wastes a lot of time when they need to do something with a custom field, and it's used in 1,000 reports, and then they just like couple of days are lost on pretty stupid work because they hate it, they don't like it, but they have to do it. Yeah. So like we have this in plans. For now, it will be only a report. It will just show you, and then like it's up to you what to do with this. Later, we'll try again, like based on your feedback. We don't want to invent the wheel. We still have like lots of stuff from our users, so we'll work on that. And once you have that report, you just let us know what you'd like to see here, what you'd like to do from that report, and we'll do it.
Well, and I think you know, with that, the reporting piece is really important. But what is provided here is still more than is extremely helpful for an admin, because in doing a query against the various objects When you pull in the data, we didn't really show that, but when you log in and you pull in the data set, you can define the various attributes that you want to pull in, and you do have isn't there a search option within the object or that data set? If you right click, the way that I've been doing it is on my data set there on the left, there's a search option, and key in the API name. I'm specifically looking though at workflows and flows. So I've pulled in that metadata into the Welkin suite. For the other bit, I didn't really care. It was kind of what are the automations that might be using the field, the report types, reports, and it shows me a list of all of the locations that that field is being used. So it's extremely helpful. And whether or not I do anything with it, I at least get an idea of the volume of potential level of effort if I was to make a change to that field, and I can know the impact. So it does do that. If you want some more information too, there is a blog post on Admin Hero that walks through that in the force.com IDE, and it's actually very similar to the Welkin suite as well in terms of the operation for that specific function, but it's extremely helpful. Well, we're at the top of the hour pretty much. I want to get through the raffle, because I know you've got a couple of licenses you want to give away, and then maybe we can get a couple more questions answered here. But why don't you do that?
Yep. Thanks, Brent. So, we still have a couple of things not covered, and it's okay. It will be a challenge for you guys to take a look and see how it looks like. So right now I will hide my screen for a second, because really, guys, I don't want to share all of your emails with everybody on the internet. So I will just hide my screen. I will get the list of everybody who have registered for the webinar, even who have not attended it. Why not attending this great webinar and talking with Brent? So I will just get your emails, and instead of showing all these emails, so I'll need a couple more seconds. So let me do this stuff. So okay, I'm getting back my screen. So let's start. TWS and Admin Hero, free licenses. So I'll paste here. It will be entrant accessible drawing, so you guys will be able to see. If you enter this list, if you want anything, upload a plain text file, pass entries into the form.
And we are seeing your browser. I just want to make sure that that's what you want to be seeing. Okay.
I'll just, so here's the full list of everybody. I strip the domain name. Just to not share emails. I'll save this file somewhere. Let it be on my data. And choose the file. Here we are. So we have 340 people. We'll have 3 winners. So first place will get the free Welkin suite license for a year. Second place will get free Welkin suite license for 6 months, and third place will get Welkin suite license for 3 months. Let me check what we have here. No, remove. Yep. So 3 winners. Next. 3 win entries will be selected. Yes. Yes. I'm
always doing it live, right? Yeah, I was right about that. That doesn't count.
It's funny. It's funny. Okay. I don't know how you handle this. Brent, do you want a free license?
I was going to say we should maybe do 4, and then if if my name comes up, then we can exclude it. But
Okay, guys, I'll just save the winners right here. I'll exclude brand if you don't mind, brand. Sorry, you'll have to buy it. You'll have to buy it.
Nope, totally fine, totally fine.
And I'll try to do it once more, so I'll just do it in another way. Whoops.
Kent says it's rigged. We're fixing that.
I'll do it in a simple way to just pick this third place. So let me just get a random number where I can get random numbers. So from 1 to how many people we have here? 339. So 339. And generate 112. And 112. Brent, it's not you. So let's say the third place is the user with the first part of email starting with. So guys, I'll contact you in emails if you're listening us. If no, okay, you'll anyway send you a recording. And like here, I'll contact you in the next, I believe, couple hours. It's 10 p.m. here, but still I'll try to do it today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have 3 licenses, and everybody else, guys, just like here, feel free to try it out. You still have 1 month of free usage of the Welkin suite, and if you haven't tried us, enjoy it. And now, yeah, I believe like what do you think, Brent? Are you tired, or we'll try to cover some more questions?
Yeah, well, I have to go to another call. But I mean, the questions you guys have asked have been great. I think there's some really good ones in there that we can try to address perhaps offline. I don't know how that works with the webinar tool, but thank you for attending for sure. And I'm really excited to be able to pair up with the Welkin Suite and have you guys be a part of the webinar today. And so go take a look for 30 days free, thewelkinsuite.com. And
adminhero.com. So thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much, guys. And like, yeah, it was really very helpful, and I'm happy to talk with you, Brent. I've got like some feedback from you, and I believe that we'll like keep talking, keep discussing, and that we'll get some more feedback from you. And guys, everybody, like even if you're writing Apex, Lightning, it doesn't matter. Just like take a look at the Admin Hero website. Like Brent writes pretty cool articles. They're very helpful. Like being honest, I haven't read Brent like before Swiss Dreamforce, I believe, maybe like even before summer. But from now on, like yeah, I'd like to like examine it sometime, and I find like something pretty cool there pretty often. Even that I'm not doing, I try to not do admin stuff.
Well, thank you. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a great afternoon and a good rest of your week.
Thank you very much, guys. And yep, have a great day. See you.
Bye-bye.